Hello, Ashley.
Hey, Fred.
I can hear you. I'm going to go back on mute.
All right.
I don't have a panelist link.
Use the regular link.
Email from.
I'll send it to you. You don't have it.
Ashley, hi, it's Carol. Are we waiting on the mayor to start the meeting?
Sorry, yes, we are having some difficulties getting logged in. Just resent him that link.
Okay.
Did you also see that Katie Zimmerman is having trouble getting in?
Yeah, I'm promoting her to panelist right now. I apologize for not sending the individual panelist links.
Thanks, y'all. I'm in now.
Okay, still waiting on the mayor to join. Okay, here he is.
Hey, Ashley, did you see Sheila's message in the Q&A?
I was looking for her name. I don't see her name on the participants list.
Yeah, Sheila is giving the phase one update for the county. So at least when you come to that time, you'll need to unmute her or promote her.
That's the thought. Sorry, I had to step away to help the mayor get something's wrong with his computer. He's still trying to get logged on, but I think it would be in order for the vice chair to maybe get the meeting started.
I agree. Thank you. We'll be happy to welcome the mayor back to the MC spot as soon as he can. This is the February 24th meeting of the ReThink Folly Road Steering Committee. Welcome to everyone who's a regular and to any attendees that we have who are joining us from the public. I'll just let people introduce themselves as they're making presentations to us. So why don't we look at the previous meeting minutes of December, whatever date that was, the 16th of December. And are there any additions or corrections before we accept the minutes as presented? All right, hearing none, we'll accept the minutes as presented by Mr. You did them, Ernie, right? Thank you.
I make a motion to accept.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So the next item on our agenda is to hear the phase one project update from Ms. Sororian. Is she ready to speak, or should we go on to the multi-use design?
Yes, she is rejoining us as a panelist right now.
Great, welcome.
Okay, Sheila, you have the floor.
Sheila, if you're talking, you may be mute. I mean, I know you're muted, so
Can y'all hear me now?
yes.
So now we
Okay.
can, thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, yes, I have an update for the Folly bike ped improvements. We did submit to city TRC on right before Christmas, our 90% plans, and they have looked at them. They've returned feedback. We were on their TRC agenda on January 21st, and we've met with them, coordinated with them on their comments, and we've also met with the DOT. They had comments about lane widths, and there's an area after Brantley Street where we have a guardrail and some pedestrian handrails. So they had some comments about that. Other than that, most of the comments from the city were minor. And we're still, of course, working on getting that maintenance agreement done between the town and the city. I kind of coordinated with Ashley on that, and she's been really helpful. And we're just nailing down that legal language. And after that maintenance agreement is executed, we can go ahead with our right-of-way acquisitions there.
Thank you. I just have a question.
Do y'all have any questions about that?
Yes, this is Carol Jackson. You'll be going back to TRC then, or did they sign off? Will you go back to the city?
Yeah, we'll have to submit final plans and go back to TRC to get all their comments on the final plans. These were 90% plans.
So are we just chit chatting, or the chairman has finally showed up? Where are we doing?
We're talking about the phase 1 project update, Mayor.
Okay, so you took care of you.
Yes, we did the minutes. I welcomed them in your name, and now we're listening.
All right, thank you so much. That's why we have a vice chairman. Thank you, Carol. Okay.
So so the DOT was having issues with the lane width, is that correct? Is that the only issue that they were having?
Yeah, they were just unclear on the lane widths because our earlier submittal said we had 11.5-foot lanes, and then we changed it to 11, and they were trying to figure out where the other half went, and we added that to our bike lane width. So we have 3.5-foot bike lanes, 11-foot lanes, and a 12-foot twiddle lane or suicide lane, if you will. And so they were happy with that road section.
And then you also mentioned issues with the maintenance agreement with the DOT, is that correct?
I think it's between the city and the town now that so is there any update about that, Ashley? Anything we should know?
I think so. I mean, we've done as you all know, the MOU between the city and the town for the maintenance of the bike lanes. The other maintenance agreement will come into play when we talk about the non-standard items such as the widened path, the mast arms. So I think those, it's my understanding, and this probably needs some further communication between town and city staff, that that is would be maintained within each jurisdiction's respective jurisdiction. Except for the mast arms. I think all of those on Folly are maintained by the City of Charleston's Department of Transportation. So I don't think there's any holdups or anything as far as that goes.
No, there's
Thank you
not
for
any
clarifying.
holdups. we're just working through the legal language. As Ashley said, there's no holdups.
Do you think you'll have gotten to the easement bind stage by the time we meet in a couple of months?
Yeah, that's the hope. We should have that maintenance agreement executed by then. And then that's kind of our green light to move ahead with that.
Well, maybe Ernie, that could inform our discussion about the 2021 event. Just
Sure.
All right, does anyone else have any questions or about the phase 1 project update? So thank you, Carol, for stepping in. And hearing no questions, thank you, Sheila. I guess we'll go to the multi-use path design guidance. Ernie, would you like to discuss that?
Absolutely. Thank you. And good afternoon, everybody. So we did send out this design guidance with the meeting invite. We attached it a couple of days ago on that. And just wanted to kind of go over it with you. I'm not going to walk word for word through it, but wanted to give you the big areas in it. And then also want to just kind of give you some early returns that we've had on it, just for some discussion purposes. The document's kind of broken into two main parts. There's a background piece which outlines kind of the why behind this and really talks about the plan itself and the goals of the plan. And then the bulk of it is the multi-use path design piece. And there's two sections to that. One is what we call design considerations. The other is design standards. And I would, just emphasize to everyone that this is design guidance. So it's not an ordinance, it's not law or regulation, but it is something that each jurisdiction could use to influence the way the design is implemented. I do think it's going to probably be applied slightly differently depending on each circumstance, as each jurisdiction works with individual property owners or developers. But you can see under the considerations, we talk about things like compliance and appropriate materials and what kind of signage and wayfinding you might want to use. And then the standards themselves get more into the meat of it, of showing those typical sections, trying to not just typical sections, but trying to show construction detailing to some degree. Also, what do you do in an area where maybe you don't have enough room to do a full 12 feet, but it's just a small constrained area? That's where we talk about things like, narrowing or going around an obstacle, which we've already, I know there was a property where that subject already came up, and the property owner was being encouraged to kind of split the path around the obstacle rather than getting too narrow. Tapers and transitions, also looking at intersections, driveways in particular, where the path would cross a driveway, and then curb ramps as well. The early kind of comments that we have heard, I know at the staff level, there was a thought that perhaps there should be a little more in here, kind of talking about the benefits of why this benefits a property owner to do this. And I guess I'll just say that we sort of arbitrarily said, let's try to keep this to 4 pages. There's nothing magical about 4 pages. It could be 5 pages long. It could be 4.5 pages long, whatever. So we can, we don't necessarily have to take something out to put something in. Our goal was just to keep it as brief as possible so that property owners and developers would actually read it and try to follow it. We didn't want it to be too cumbersome just in its bulk. But having some information in there about, how this benefits a property owner, why it's important, to the corridor beyond just the goals of the plan, that could certainly be something that could be added. Also, we did hear from one committee member that, just the thought of, I think right now with the driveways, we kind of say in there that low volume driveways, like a single family residential driveway, probably doesn't need any kind of treatment. And again, the thought with that is just there's so few cars going in and out of that driveway, say, versus a commercial development, which constantly has vehicles going in and out. But so we said in the design guidance that you didn't need them at those low volume driveways. But there was some concern that maybe the same standard should be applied to all driveways, just from a liability kind of standpoint, I think. And that certainly could be the case. We don't have any issue with saying that. And again, it's up to each jurisdiction as to how firmly they would, apply this guidance and insist on this guidance. So again, I think it could be, put in several different ways. So that's kind of a good background on it. I guess I would, Mr. Mayor, I'd say if folks have other comments, we certainly can entertain those or just have a discussion. I hope folks have had the opportunity to look it over.
Well, let's go ahead and see if the people have any input here at this meeting. I'm hoping that given the written input and any discussion we have here, we might get a revision. And I would hope at our next meeting, if we're satisfied with it, that this steering committee would recommend this to the jurisdictions. And I think we should just leave it at that. Recommend it to them. Anyway, any other comments or questions about the proposal?
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
Carol.
Yeah, I'm looking at the participants. Maybe they're on the attendees list that I can't see, but I was hoping that one of our city staff might be here. We have used the guidelines now in a couple of, as they were developed back in December, two properties that I know of in particular, and I think Christopher Morgan mentioned one of them, and then looking at the minutes, and then also the changeover from Claire's gas station is another good example of how we're going to be installing the path, in properties that are not going to be connected to other multi-use paths. So the two that I know of in my district on Folly Road are 1230 Folly Road and 1150 Folly Road. And so we have handed these guidelines to those owners as they are going through one of them's toward the final stage of his construction permitting build out. And then the other one is still coming through TRC, I think. So in the city, it's the design review board who are tasked with approving any design that involves both landscape and now the multi-use path. So if there is somebody from the staff that can speak to our experience right now, that might be a good little case study. Obviously the owners themselves are not thrilled to know that they have to do this, to put it mildly. But I think that we are doing them a really good service by having something this uniform and easy to follow, even as much as they would prefer not to have to, go to the extra expense. I'm not so sure, just riffing a little bit, why we need to go to great lengths about the benefit. If, that should be up to each jurisdiction as we crafted our overlay to require the installation of a path. And also we've got the whole vision plan. So if they want to know the benefit, I think we should continue to promote the ReThink Folly vision plan as the overall scope and vision, for why we're doing this. And it is going to be piecemeal as we get to these, new redevelopment or a tipping point of rehab you know, the scope that's being rehabbed on any particular site. But I think that was always the understanding, that a lot of this is going to come together, you know, over time. So that's just my personal opinion. And if there's a city staff person who can speak more exemplary to what's gone on so far, I'd love to call him.
Ms. Jackson, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, Christopher Morgan. So I would just add that I think it's great to have these, and our DRB staff at the city, David Meeks, is going to be key on this. And I know that he, I believe, has seen these. And as you said, the owners of those two sites have had a look at them. And, you know, all this goes through our DRB. So we've got a little bit of an advantage there that we've got, you know, trained design folks who help with this, but this is good for giving folks who are developing properties along the road a good sense of what, you know, we'd be looking for. So I think they're very helpful, and you know, we are going to be seeing a lot more redevelopments that utilize these, as Ms. Jackson mentioned. The Claire's gas station and several properties to the south of that are going to become the refuel up there, and they'll be implementing this. And I think we've got a new dentist office coming in just north of or I'm sorry, just south of the Catholic Church, that's going to go on that vacant lot that would be utilizing these too. So slowly but surely, we're making some progress on it.
Good to hear.
Thank you, Chris.
Any more comments or questions?
I will.
Yes, Katie.
Sorry. One of the things, and this is just sort of a lesson learned over the past several years. Bidirectional conflict on paths, you know, that is, that's something that we get complaints about a lot. So if you look at the space that's allocated for multi-use and shared use paths throughout the county, and then they increase in popularity, and then it's simply not enough space. And, you know, even on the Ravenel Bridge, so popular. And at the time, we were all so excited to get that 12 feet. And now it's just not enough. And we've reached a point where people are getting seriously injured because it's not enough space. So I would just encourage, and I'll defer to the committee on whatever y'all think is the best way to ensure this, is not giving up on footage right away. So there has to be a very, very specific, clear reason why 12 feet is not attainable. I think that's just really, really important, especially for people who maybe aren't out there using these spaces. They maybe understand a little less how important it is to be able to, you know, people are walking dogs, people are biking. It's a lot of different uses, going two ways. More space is better.
Thank you. I guess from our perspective, that would be our planning director should keep that in mind. And the DRB, I guess the city would have to be making that decision. Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, hearing none, thank you, Ernie. If we would, you know, take and maybe make some revisions. I don't disagree with Carol's view that we don't need a long explanation as to why it's a good idea. Maybe a short one, you know, a sentence or two. And we can look at this again next time and perhaps make a recommendation then, if it is an action item to recommend to the jurisdictions.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. And that is the only, you know, again, I guess I would just say.
Or you think it's ready, that there weren't any
I'm
changes?
wondering, is it ready? You know, because that background piece, it does lay out the guideposts of the plan. You know, now we certainly can add a couple of sentences, but is that fundamentally going to change it? Also, if this is distributed electronically to folks, there is a link to the plan itself there as well, where you see it underlined. That links you right to the plan. So that would just be my only question. I mean, I don't mind adding a sentence or two, but if the committee feels like it's good to go, I'd say let's let it out of the gate.
Well, I'll ask, is there a motion to recommend this to the jurisdictions as is? Carol,
I'll move that motion, Mr.
there's a
Chairman.
second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? We've already discussed it quite a bit, but any further discussion? Well, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Well, the committee recommends that we share this with the jurisdictions and recommend its adoption. All right, very good. Next, we move on to the State of the Plan 2021 event. Arnie, you want to talk about that some?
Sure, absolutely.
Lead that
So,
discussion?
yeah, so the operating agreement for the steering committee states that annually we will have some type of public event. And of course, as all you recall, last March, we did have our first State of the Plan event to squeeze that in just before the pandemic hit. And it was very successful, had a tremendous turnout. And so we just wanted to begin thinking about, what do we want to do in 2021? And so what I've got for you on the screen there is sort of we've got 4 kind of options as I see it, and as I discussed it with staff. Now there may be other great ideas too, and we're certainly open to those. The first you see there would be to take a little more of a wait and see approach. This is not something that has to be decided today. I will say that once we decide what we want to do, it will probably take a couple of months to put it together and get it going. So we want to keep that in mind. But again, the operating agreement says we will do something each year. So we have all of 2021, to do this. Now, obviously, we want to think about weather conditions and, what's optimal. But we certainly, I guess the first thing is we could say, well, hey, let's just wait 2 months, and at our next meeting, let's talk about this again. Maybe things will have changed for the better, that kind of thing. So that's sort of the first option out there. The second one is to do some kind of virtual event, where we either do something via Zoom, or we've also had a lot of success with doing videos via YouTube that give updates to projects. We send that link out, folks watch the video, and then they're taken to some kind of comment forum where they can give feedback. So you can do virtual type things with a variety of input. Another thing to do would be some type of in-person, physically distanced event. So we've done those as well during the pandemic, where we generally have them outside, or if they're inside, they're in a very large venue, like a gymnasium or something where we can really spread out. And often we will even limit the number of folks that can come in and out at one time. But if we did it outdoors, we could have different stations and things and make sure folks stay physically distanced and wear masks. And so we can do that as well. Another one that was mentioned by staff was the idea of a drive-through event. Specifically, I know that the town of James Island did a drive-through Christmas tree lighting that was very successful. So we could certainly do some kind of drive-through event where you'd stay in your cars. You might be interacting a little bit out the windows with different things that would go on. Again, none of these have we really fleshed out, what they'd be, because we don't. We want to kind of let's settle on something and then put the work behind it at that point. But really, this was just we wanted to get this discussion started and just see if anybody, if we have a strong opinion, and then of course. Vice Chair Jackson, she mentioned, do we coordinate this with some kind of groundbreaking or something for phase 1? That could even be certainly something that happens. So anyway, I wanted to kind of present some options to you and then let y'all talk through them a little bit.
All right, so let's, any comments or ideas about this? Yeah, Councilman Jackson.
It just occurred to me, it's been a while since we've had an update about Brantley Park, but I think that could be a great, feature event that we could open Brantley Park and feature the path at the exact same time. And, I'm sort of on the wait and see. Unless we've got something so critical that people are going to get on to another Zoom meeting. I really don't feel that. I think, you know, Zoom has lost its magic, and I think people are using Zoom because they have to, but not because it's a fun thing for them to do on an evening, especially as the weather, you know, is going to be nicer and people are getting vaccinated, thank God. And so I would just as soon wait and see and hope that we can do something that is an outdoor, you know, celebration. Maybe have a map of the properties where the path is going in again, and let people, you know, find their location and things like that. So have those sort of, I think you're right. The event last March was very successful just because people could really relate, you know, to what they've been reading, to where they live and what they do every day. So
Any other comments or yes, Fred?
I agree with that sentiment. I think it should be an outdoor event. It should be, and if we could do it at Brantley, maybe in 2 or 3 months or 4 months when it's appropriate, and a lot more people will be safer because of vaccinations. That's the way to do it. Something new and different. I don't think we should do it Zoom. I agree with those sentiments which Carol expressed.
All right. Any other? Excuse me?
This is Beth. I was just gonna say, I agree with that as well. I think that Zoom should be a last option, not a first choice.
So I'll yes, Katie?
Sorry, I agree as well. I think everybody is right.
So I like, I'm not sure where we'll be on the Brantley project in terms of what's done, what kind of plans we can show in the summer, but we could combine, you know, this is what we're getting ready to start with Brantley. Maybe groundbreaking will be ready by then. Ashley, how unrealistic is that, or realistic?
It's realistic. So I actually got the all of the bid documents from the engineer yesterday. So I plan to put that out for bid first of next week. And so likely town council will be seeing that phase 1 at their April meeting to approve. So I would imagine we could shoot for a groundbreaking end of April, 1st of May.
And I think it would be entirely appropriate that if we combined a Brantley Park, you know, it's a joint city and town project. We combine that with information, you know, it is supposed to fit in with the whole ReThink Folly Road project. That's part of what Brantley Park is about. And so, you know, the phase 1 plans, you know, more information that we'll have at that time. You know, I think that would be a good idea. And but I like the idea of outdoors associated with, you know, that, and also that we wait. we don't do it in April. That, you know, we wait and see, and hopefully things will be better. So anyway, any other comments?
If we wait till June, then all the no-see-ums will be gone and the pollen will be down, and, you know, it'll be really a nice time of year. Not to mention,
it's hot.
Well, yeah, but that's all right. We live in South Carolina.
That's right. That's why we live on.
Not to mention, we'll have the tool team to plan our Brantley opening for us. So that's a 2 for $5.
There you go. You didn't know that was part of the job, did you? Okay, but anyway, that's a good thought. Any other ideas or comments about this? So it seems like the consensus is we're not really interested in doing an electronic version. We want to do something in person. We want it outside, and we want to wait till later, you know, in the summer, when we hope that the COVID situation will be better anyway, but we'll be outside. Right. Any other comments? Is that enough, Ernie? You got enough feedback on that?
Yeah, I think that's great. And what we'll do on our side is we'll go ahead and start brainstorming, you know, what the pieces, parts of this might look like, so that when we come back to this meeting with you folks in April, we'll have some ideas to share with you that y'all can begin to give the high sign or the nay sign to.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, jurisdictional updates. Well, let's start. I think last time I forgot Folly Beach. So let's start with, is there someone from Folly Beach to give us an update?
Hey, Mayor, this is Katie Faith from Folly. We don't have any updates to give, but excited to see how the multi-jurisdictional, that path is coming together. And I think it'll be really great, and excited to see that corridor come together.
Well, thank you. All right, appreciate that. So Christopher, I guess, is still here. Christopher, would you give updates on the city? Or I think you sort of did, but
Yeah, you know, I think I did mention how those two projects that we are seeing come in, it's coming in slowly. The refuel, actually the refuel has to rezone one other additional parcel to the south of the two they've already rezoned, and that'll be coming up soon. The dentist office there, just south of the Catholic Church, is going through design review and will be at DRB at some point. And those are the only projects I know of. I know we had a joint review with Charleston County, and I don't know if anybody's here from Charleston County, but there is a new ENT office coming in kind of across the street from the Publix, the earlier Publix shopping center. I forget which one that is called, and kind of near where the barbecue place is up there at the older Publix shopping.
Harborview and Folly.
Yes, yes, Harborview and Folly. And that was looking pretty good. And I've heard, and again, somebody from the county can add in on this, but I've heard that just to the south of that, Carolina One is doing an office also in the county. So we were talking with them about maybe doing a joint driveway, things like that. But that's about it. Jim, I think, is on the call. I can't see a list of everybody who's on the call, but of course, we're all working on our comprehensive plan that we hope to be releasing parts of in March, and having some community meetings in March and April. We will definitely have one dedicated to James Island, and possibly more than just one in particular for James Island, and would love to get comments in reference to that. And it'll be going to our planning commission in April and on to city council in May.
All right, thank you. Are any questions for Christopher?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions, but again, I can't see the attendees, so I'm not sure if Mr. Benjamin's on from our TNT department, but there are two intersections that are on Folly Road that I think we should get on people's radar. One we've talked about with our county and town partners at trying to square the crosswalk that would go across Folly Road from that same Publix shopping center on Harbor View and over to the bus stop. So Mr. Benjamin told me day before yesterday that he just got the concept design or whatever next step paperwork from BCD COG, and they're studying it. So hopefully we're making progress to get a crosswalk installed, because it still is a very concerning pedestrian unfriendly intersection. And then the other one that I'm really excited about is the city has put all of our eggs in our basket to ask for our share of the TST money this year in the project that would improve pedestrian and public safety at the intersection of Battery Island and Folly. So I think that's very comparable to what we did with the county and the state on Maybank, trying to make a mid-block crosswalk. I don't have any details yet, but we're all in for making the Battery Island intersection our project for new funding for this coming year.
That'll be
Councilwoman
important for
Jackson,
Folly Road.
I don't
Yes.
see anyone from City TNT on the line. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, thanks. So I'm making the announcement.
Yes, Katie.
I wanted to ask, I never received the details of the circumstances of the pedestrian fatality at I think that was last week over by Cross Creek and Tatum. But I reached out to DOT because, they have their 700 crosswalks program that they are working on in concert with the municipalities. And basically, Josh explained there really needs to be a project to leverage But that intersection doesn't have crosswalks or ped heads right now. And I don't know if that would have played a role in this or not, but I know that there are a bunch of projects going on around that intersection in the city's jurisdiction. And I'm wondering if there's a way to sort of leverage what's happening there to go ahead and work with DOT and get those crosswalks put in. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there.
Maybe it's something we could get Refuel to consider, Mr.
Yeah.
Morgan. Seriously.
All right, well, thank you. Yes, we were still talking about city projects. Are we ready to move on to Charleston County? I believe Andrea's here on the line. Is that right?
Hey, Nikki's here. Can y'all hear me okay?
Okay, Nikki.
We don't have any new projects in for submittal, but to speak to the Charleston ENT project that Christopher mentioned, we have recently sent back comments, so we're still working through that review process. Same thing with the Corkies at 1593 Folly Road. We're still on that resubmittal process and awaiting a final submittal, but both of those projects have incorporated the multi-use path. And the only other project we have in the area would be Tattooed Senorita is going through and getting the necessary permits that they needed. So the most recent permits that were issued were for signage, ADA ramp, the patio roof, decks, and other site compliance issues. The Carolina One office, I did not see that as a submittal that Christopher mentioned. So I'm not sure if we've received a formal submittal and maybe have just had a pre-application meeting, but I'll be sure to look into that for the next meeting.
All right, well, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Grimmel?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a follow-up about Senorita? Are they now including a design for the path design, Ms. Grimble?
They are not including actual construction for the path. The BZA approval stipulated that the 10-foot wide pedestrian right-of-way future use along Folly Road may not otherwise be encumbered or encroached upon by any building or improvement. So they are prohibited from going any further into the multi-use path, but they did not include plans to dedicate it.
That's what I thought.
Oh, well, I guess it's sort of a special case. Any other questions? We're none, thank you. Now we'll go to the town of James Island. Kristen Crane.
Hey, we don't have any significant updates from the submittals that I mentioned at our last meeting, but we do have a new business, I guess, going in at 869 Folly Road, which was the former Hen and the Goat. They are going to switch over to be called Tropical Smoothie Cafe, and they're going to reactivate the drive-through that was there when it was Black Bean before it was the Hen and the Goat. So no change of use, but they are going to reactivate the former drive-through, and I think that's probably it for us right now, unless anybody has any questions about any ongoing things.
Are there any questions about this new business or any of the ongoing efforts?
I have a question for the town. Do you have any new information about the corner of Camp at Folly, that new development going in there? I know that we've talked to them about potentially installing some improvements for transit infrastructure, and they were going to meet with the DOT, but I didn't know if the town had heard anything further. This is Valen from the BCD COG.
So they submitted their site plan review a couple months ago without any bus pullout. So we are requesting that they update their plans with a bus pullout And the tricky thing is that the bus pullout would be on the neighboring parcel and not the parcel that's owned by the people who are developing the Chase Bank. So we are working through that right now, and just kind of on a daily back and forth with them on that, but not any significant new updates on that, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion for regarding these items, or questions for Ms. Crane? All right, hearing none. I believe that is the last jurisdiction. I didn't miss anybody today, did I? Update, and so there being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Move
moved.
to adjourn,
Carol?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, motion adjourn?
It just
A
occurred
second?
to me that, no.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, it
Carol.
just occurred to me, this is not a jurisdiction necessarily, but I wanted to make sure everybody has heard the good news that CARTA has added a second bus for the Route 31. So since we're all into facilitating less auto use, I think that is something to really celebrate by this committee.
So there'll be another bus going down Folly Road?
Yeah, the Route 31 that goes down Folly, around the bend, and then on all the way down to Harris Teeter in Folly Beach.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful news.
Any well, that was an important announcement. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Make motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you,
Good
Ernie,
meeting.
and all the
Thank
staff.
you.
Good night. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.